Welcome, listeners, to Brainy Bee Book Club, the podcast where we delve into timeless works and explore their core ideas. Today we're cracking open a book that's been influencing human interactions for generations, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. First published way back in 1937, this book wasn't expected to be a sensation, but it quickly became one, touching a fundamental human need. It's been translated into nearly every written language and is still read today, prompting a revised edition in 1981 to update examples while keeping the original, energetic, brash, breezy Carnegie style intact. This isn't just a collection of tips. The author suggests it's a practical, working handbook intended to help readers acquire new thoughts, visions, and ambitions, make friends easily, increase popularity and influence, handle complaints smoothly, become better conversationalists, and even arouse enthusiasm in others. The very creation of the book stemmed from the author's realization, through his educational courses for adults, that while they needed training in public speaking, they often needed training in the, quote, fine art of getting along with people in everyday business and social contexts, even more. He searched for a practical handbook on human relations but found none, leading him to write this one for use in his own courses. It wasn't written in a conventional sense. It grew as a child grows, developed from experiments with adults applying principles in real life and reporting the results. Getting the most out of this book isn't just about reading it once. The author emphasizes it requires one indispensable requirement: a deep, driving desire to learn, and a vigorous determination to increase your ability to deal with people. Without this internal motivation, rules and techniques mean little. With it, you can achieve wonders. Developing this urge comes from constantly reminding yourself how crucial these principles are to leading a richer, happier, and more fulfilling life. Mastery isn't passive. It involves reading chapters multiple times, stopping frequently to consider how and when to apply suggestions, marking up the book, and regularly reviewing the material. As Bernard Shaw reportedly said, "If you teach a man anything, he will never learn." Learning, in this context, is an active process. You learn by doing. Applying these principles at every opportunity is the only way for them to become habitual. A constant and vigorous campaign of review and application. It's presented not just as acquiring information, but as attempting to form new habits, attempting a new way of life. So what are some of the fundamental techniques presented in this working handbook? Part 1 dives into handling people, starting with a strong directive. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. The sources suggest that criticism is futile because it puts a person on the defensive and usually makes them justify themselves. It is also described as dangerous because it wounds a person's pride and sense of self-importance and stirs up resentment. The famous writer Mark Twain, for example, found relief in writing scathing letters to blow off steam, but his wife wisely kept them from being mailed, recognizing their potential harm. Instead of complaining about others, the philosophy suggests it is a lot more profitable and a lot less dangerous to begin with yourself. A powerful, classic piece, titled Father Forgets, is included to illustrate the deep regret that can follow impatient criticism of a child. Following this, the book presents what is called the big secret of dealing with people. There's only one way to get anyone to do anything, the sources assert: make the other person want to do it. Crude methods like threats or force might elicit temporary compliance, but they result in sharply undesirable repercussions. The core idea is that everything we do springs from fundamental desires. Philosophers like John Dewey called the deepest urge in human nature the desire to be important, while William James referred to it as the craving to be appreciated. This longing is described as being almost as deep, almost as imperious as the desire for food or sleep, yet it is seldom gratified. This desire for importance is seen as a key differentiator between humans and animals, and a driving force behind civilization, ambition, and achievement, from Abraham Lincoln's self-education to Rockefeller's philanthropy. People even sometimes seek this feeling through less constructive means, like criminal activity, excessive displays of wealth, or even illness and, tragically, insanity. The power of satisfying this deep hunger through appreciation is highlighted. Charles Schwab, a high-earning executive, attributed his success largely to his ability to arouse enthusiasm among his people by using appreciation and encouragement. He avoided criticism and was anxious to praise but loath to find fault, believing that criticism kills ambition while approval spurs greater effort. The contrast is drawn with average people who criticize when unhappy but say nothing when pleased. The sources suggest that a lack of appreciation is a significant issue in relationships. The key here is sincere, heartfelt appreciation, which is vastly different from flattery. Flattery is described as cheap, selfish, insincere praise that rarely works with discerning people and can eventually cause harm. True appreciation comes from the heart out and is based on honestly finding the other person's good points. The principle derived is to give honest and sincere appreciation. Moving into how to make people like you, one key idea presented is to become genuinely interested in other people. The example of a dog is used. Its genuine show of affection with no ulterior motive makes it a master at winning friends. The suggestion is that trying to impress others or get them interested in us will not lead to true, sincere friends. Stories like that of Uncle George, who found a fulfilling new life in retirement by becoming genuinely interested in other musicians, illustrate the power of this principle. The author himself used this technique to get busy, famous people to speak to his classes, not by asking them for a favor related to himself, but by expressing admiration for their work and asking for their advice, showing genuine interest in them and their experiences. Another crucial principle for winning friends is to remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Remembering and using someone's name is presented as a subtle and very effective compliment, while forgetting or misspelling it can be a sharp disadvantage. The political success of Jim Farley, who made a point of remembering thousands of names, is offered as an example. Being a good conversationalist, surprisingly, is presented not primarily about talking well, but about being a good listener and encouraging others to talk about themselves. Giving exclusive attention to the person speaking is called very important, and nothing else is so flattering. Prominent individuals reportedly prefer good listeners to good talkers, finding the ability to listen attentively to be a rare trait. People often seek someone to listen, sometimes even going to a doctor when they just need an audience. Interrupting constantly and talking incessantly about yourself are presented as surefire ways to be shunned and disliked, often characteristic of bores intoxicated with their own egos. The underlying reason to encourage others to talk about themselves is simple. They are 100 times more interested in themselves and their wants and problems than they are in you and your problems. In difficult situations, such as handling complaints, listening patiently, and encouraging the other person to express their ideas, fully acts as a safety valve and can lead to resolutions. Closely related is the principle to talk in terms of the other person's interests. The analogy is made to fishing. You bait the hook to suit the fish, not yourself. Similarly, when trying to influence people, focusing on what you want is childish and absurd. The only way to influence them is to talk about what they want and show them how to get it. The simple question, how can I make this person want to do it, is posed as essential to ask yourself before attempting to persuade someone, helping to avoid futile chatter about our desires. The critique of a typical business letter shows how focusing solely on the sender's needs, e.g., the company desires, is ineffective because the reader is primarily concerned with their own problems and desires. The revised letter structure focuses on what would benefit the recipient. The sources emphasize that this approach, seeing things from the other person's point of view and arousing an eager want, should result in a gain for each party involved. A word from our sponsor. Brainy Bee Book Club is sponsored by BrainyBeeApp.com, the smartest AI chatbot on the internet. Get instant answers to your hardest questions using top AI models like Google's Gemini, the latest ChatGPT, or Anthropic's Claude. Stuck on a tough math problem? Just snap a picture for an instant answer from Brainy Bee and even ask for detailed step-by-step explanations effortlessly. AI for business, AI for fun, skip the subscriptions, Brainy Bee is number one. Check them out at BrainyBeeApp.com. And let's get back to our book review. Part 3 shifts to winning people to your way of thinking. One of the first principles here is a seemingly counterintuitive one. You can't win an argument. The sources argue that even if you are dead right logically, arguing is futile in changing someone else's mind. It can make the other person feel uncomfortable or embarrassed and doesn't make them like you. Instead of arguing, a suggested technique is to avoid the confrontation and offer appreciation, as illustrated by the tax consultant who praised the inspector's expertise instead of continuing to dispute an item. A principle stemming from this is to show respect for the other person's opinions. Never say, "You're wrong." Telling someone they are wrong is seen as a direct attack on their intelligence, judgment, pride, and self-respect, which prompts them to retaliate rather than change their mind. Announcing your intention to prove someone wrong is presented as a challenge that immediately arouses opposition. The sources cite James Harvey Robinson on the psychological resistance to being told one is wrong. Our beliefs are tied to our self-esteem, and we find reasons to cling to them rather than admit error. A more effective approach, inspired by Ben Franklin's method, involves avoiding direct contradiction and using softer phrasing like "I conceive" or "it so appears to me at present." This makes conversations pleasanter and ideas more readily accepted. Despite the advice to avoid telling others they are wrong, the book also strongly advocates that, if you're wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. This is presented as a powerful technique to disarm the other person. By criticizing yourself first, you often take away the other person's reason to criticize you. Examples are provided of someone admitting fault before a critical art buyer, or an employee admitting an error to his boss, and in both cases, the other person became more understanding. Even historical figures like Elbert Hubbard turned critics into friends by agreeing with their criticism. Other principles for influencing thinking include: begin in a friendly way. Get the other person saying yes, yes immediately by emphasizing points of agreement, and again, let the other person do a great deal of the talking, and let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers. As people trust ideas, they discover themselves more than those handed to them. A vital technique for changing people's perspectives or winning them over is to try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. The sources urge readers not to condemn, but to understand the reasons behind someone's thoughts and actions by putting yourself in their place. Seeing from another's angle is said to ease tensions and encourage an open mind. Before trying to persuade someone, asking why should he or she want to do it is crucial for formulating an effective approach that yields better results with less friction. Coupled with understanding is the principle to be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. The phrase, "I don't blame you one iota for feeling as you do. If I were you, I would undoubtedly feel just as you do," is offered as a magic phrase that can stop arguments and create goodwill. The rationale is that people are largely products of their environment and experiences, and we should feel sympathy for them rather than condemnation. The sources state that the human species universally craves sympathy, and showing it can diffuse anger and build connection. Further strategies for influencing others include appealing to their nobler motives. The idea is that while people may have real reasons for doing something, they also have reasons that sound better, and appealing to these more admirable motives is often effective. Examples include stopping photographers by appealing to their desire not to harm children, or getting authors to write by offering to pay their favorite charity. Dramatize your ideas is another principle, suggesting that presenting facts vividly and interestingly is more impactful than simply stating them. Finally, throw down a challenge. Appealing to people's desire for a sense of importance or their competitive spirit can spur them to action. This principle suggests that the game itself can be a stronger motivator than mere pay. Part 4, focusing on leadership and changing people without offense, builds on these ideas. Principles mentioned include starting criticism with praise and honest appreciation, calling attention to mistakes indirectly, and talking about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. It also suggests giving suggestions instead of orders. Making the other person feel important is reiterated, particularly by giving them a fine reputation to live up to. This encourages them to embody the desired trait. Making someone feel important can be achieved through compliments, titles, or giving them authority, making them happy to do what you suggest. Overall, the key ideas presented in these excerpts revolve around a fundamental understanding of human nature: the deep need for appreciation and importance, the resistance to criticism and being told one is wrong, and the preference for talking about oneself and one's own interests. The principles derived from these observations advocate for empathy, sincere positive reinforcement, active listening, strategic communication focused on the other person's perspective and desires, and a gentle, indirect approach to addressing faults or disagreements. It's presented as a system for building better relationships and achieving influence, not through manipulation, but through a genuine shift in how one interacts with others, aiming to become, as the author puts it, a working handbook on human relations, guiding one toward a new way of life. That wraps up our look into some of the core ideas from Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. as presented in these excerpts. It's clear that at its heart, the book encourages us to turn our focus outward, understanding and valuing the people we interact with, rather than getting caught up solely in our own world. Drawing on the wealth of information presented in the sources How to Win Friends and Influence People is highly recommended for anyone seeking to enhance their interpersonal skills and improve their life. For decades, this book has been an international bestseller, translated into almost every known written language, and continues to be relevant for each new generation. It has touched a nerve and filled a human need, with sales continuing uninterrupted for almost half a century. The book outlines 8 key achievements it can help you attain, including getting out of a mental rut, making friends quickly and easily, increasing your popularity, winning people to your way of thinking, increasing your influence and ability to get things done, handling complaints smoothly, becoming a better conversationalist, and arousing enthusiasm in others. These are not mere theories, but principles that have been tested and developed over 15 years of experiment and research out of a laboratory of human relationships involving thousands of adults. Applying these principles has been seen to literally revolutionize lives, leading to increased profit, leisure, happiness in business and at home, significantly increased sales for salespeople, and promotions for executives. The sole purpose of the book is to help you discover, develop, and profit by those dormant and unused assets you possess. It is presented as an action book, designed to equip you to meet life situations and enormously grow your ability to meet and deal with people. The revised edition aims to clarify and strengthen the book for a modern reader while keeping the core content intact, ensuring Dale Carnegie's voice still speaks forcefully. Ultimately, the book provides practical, working principles for handling people, rooted in the understanding that action springs from what we fundamentally desire, and teaching key techniques like giving sincere appreciation, arousing eager wants, listening effectively, and seeing things from the other person's point of view. By providing a deep, driving desire to learn and a vigorous determination to increase your ability to deal with people, this book offers a pathway to a richer, fuller, happier, and more fulfilling life. We hope this discussion has offered some useful insights. Join us next time at the Brainy Bee Book Club.